Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Reisberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Lincoln Stoller, certified clinical counselor, physicist, and psychotherapist. Please enjoy Lincoln Stoller. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today I'm chatting with Lincoln Stoller, physicist and psychotherapist. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Murray.
I am looking forward to digging into creativity and how it shows up in your life and your world, and how your world straddles physics and psychotherapy. But before we get there, why don't you share a little bit about who you are and what it is you do?
Well, since it's such a big topic and life is so long, I don't really want to spend too much time except saying that I grew up in a creative family, but creativity, maybe in families, is kind of ambiguous because, well, by its nature, you kind of never know where you're going with creativity. And I think my family never knew where it was going either. So, brother went into sculpture, sister was in painting, mother was a painter, father was a photographer. So maybe I developed a distaste for the arts and went into science instead. But I seem to carry the confusion of being creative with me and never fit into any of the many groups and adventures that I engaged in. And, I ended up in, a long stint in physics, ended up in therapy mostly because, it's great to talk to people about things that are real. And, creativity to me is making reality in some sense. I don't take it as whimsical or recreational. I take it as serious. So maybe that puts a kind of pall on the whole enterprise for some people, but that's what motivates me.
That's great. I appreciate this, for many, perhaps alternative side of creativity, the making reality in some sense. Where do you feel that understanding of creativity or belief of creativity comes from for you?
Creativity is a vehicle, it's an attitude, it's an approach, it's a kind of pathway. And I do a lot of dream work and I've written a lot about dreams, and it sort of reveals itself as you go along. So if you're not creative, nothing happens. Everything's normal, and the scenery doesn't change. And if you start being creative to the extent you're creative, it's like you accelerate into the unknown and you can go as fast as you want, but things quickly sort of lose focus. If you're creative, first you start encountering things that don't fit, and then you encounter things that don't make sense, and then you might start to try to make sense, and inevitably, if you're creative, you don't know how the pieces fit together, and maybe you take a break occasionally. I think most people will stop and say, I've accomplished something at some point, and feel that you reach a plateau. But if you continue to be creative, you jump off the plateau back into the chaos of not knowing what's going on and trying to figure it out. I don't know why you do. It seems to be kind of a human property. Animals don't seem to be so disturbed about the chaos of the world, but some people are, and I guess those people are the creative ones. So I was, interested in science because I thought I wasn't sure it was creative, but I thought it addressed the question of what was going on. And I've sort of been disappointed because it tends to be quite conventional. And, I physics is a great thing because it's all nonsense. It's all yesterday's nonsense mixed with current confusion, trying to build a picture that, and so throughout history, the physicists have always said, "Oh, we know it all now." Now the science is done, and then of course it all falls apart, and uh, and it happens. I don't know. I don't know if it seems to happen every 100 years, right? So there's
Hmm.
Newton in the 1700s, and then the 1800s. You got at the end of the 1800s, you got this beginning of quantum mechanics, and then now we're sort of in this mature phase, and then it gets all entangled with politics and economics and even a certain psychology to a certain degree, but
Hmm.
I wouldn't give it that much credit. And so that's how I sort of got involved in psychology. I didn't want to be a psychologist. I thought it was too vague and soft and lacking in certainty, and it is. But still, I really appreciate talking to people about their confusion and
Hmm.
encouraging them to be creative. That's kind of the basis of my therapy
Hmm.
is a creative, trying to be creative, not trying to be assertive and certain, you know,
Mm.
doctor might.
Sure. So what does that look like trying to be creative or supporting someone else to focus or turn chaos into a path?
Well, in terms of therapy, it means listening to them and trying to
Hmm.
understand what they're doing. And I tend to think of it in a creative sense that they're trying to understand, usually.
Mm. Hmm.
I mean, I have a new respect for people who engage in therapy as people who are trying to understand, whereas other people either think they understand or don't care to understand any further.
Hmm.
And of course, they don't understand any better than anyone else. So there's I think, a great benefit to confusion and chaos. It's fertile. It's full of ideas that don't fit. Maybe they're all wrong. Maybe some of them are wrong. Maybe, maybe the notion of being right is wrong by itself. And so listening to people is the first step. And I think the second step happens before the first step, which is experience.
Mm.
It's
Hmm.
been very valuable for me to experience lots of people and places and
Mm.
cultures. I traveled a lot all over the world and lived with people in different cultures
Hmm.
and enjoy doing that. I'm not very good with languages, but I kind of bumbled my way through some very strange situations.
Okay.
Um, and a lot of crazy people. I mean, I was into mountaineering, and that's a
Mm.
repository for crazy people, but also creative and driven people.
Sure. Yeah.
So you get some interesting memories, interesting experiences. And then I
Hmm.
found physics full of crazy people. I thought all those people were nuts, that emotionally dysregulated and socially dysfunctional and
Hmm.
intellectually overactive. It's like kind of a nightmare I felt psychologically. I wouldn't indict academia entirely, but the hard sciences tend to be pretty inhumane. At least
Yeah.
these days. I mean, times change, but
Sure.
these days they're very technical and financial and
Yeah.
full of tons of research and details. And
Hmm.
if you think this is reality, God help your social skills because they don't help. Um,
Fair.
so I have to listen to what people say. And I do feel my success is most evident with people who try the hardest
Hmm.
to change.
Sure.
Because a lot of people are trying hard not to change
Yeah.
other people, right? They're trying to change the environment. They're trying to change
Hmm.
their relationships, which you can to some extent, but not, without being involved.
Sure.
So that's I appreciate that, being
Yeah.
involved. So, but get back to creativity.
Yeah. The listening and experience. I mean, you say you work in the dream a lot in dreams. Maybe for people who are unfamiliar with that idea of dream work or how it fits in with psychology, if you wouldn't mind explaining a little bit. I mean, feels like
Yeah, yeah.
there is creativity that shows up in that when we're interpreting dreams or using them.
Dreams used to be more integrated into psychology. Well, never very much because they were
Yeah.
kind of the bad boys of science. But, there was a certain amount of an attempt to interpret dreams and integrate dreams into daily life and their meanings and
Hmm.
purpose. But it never really, well, I don't know if it ever really caught on, but it's not caught on now. There's no course in dreaming in psychological training unless you're a Jungian.
Right.
And so I think, the most people understand about dreams is that they think they're sort of meaningful puzzles about
Mm.
something which no one's
Hmm.
figured out.
Right.
And I think that rather than say that, I would say dreams are just unalloyed creativity. They
Mm.
are your mind just taking everything and putting it in the salad spinner and just seeing what comes out for the
Hmm.
purpose of sort of like reading tea leaves. It's like,
Oh.
what does your life actually mean when you take apart all these presumed connections that you believe make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you get to a new understanding if you're still holding on to an old one?
Mm.
I mean, you don't really gain any new understanding of something you don't let go of. And a dream, I think, is your mind saying, let's let go of everything, at
Yeah.
least to the point where we can still talk. Let's
Hmm.
not lose language or memory, but let's rearrange everything. And now
Right.
let's see what you can figure out because now you have an opportunity to
Mm.
see yourself out of the context of what you've constructed.
Hmm.
And the more you do that, and the more you're able to do that with some distance, of course, you have to have a certain amount of recollection,
Sure.
but that comes with practice.
Yeah.
The more you do that, the more lucid you become in these dreams.
Hmm.
And lucidity, I wrote a whole book on lucidity. It's not obvious what lucidity is. It's like, if you realize that everything's false, then you just check out. You're not connected to anything. So you have to be connected to some of the construction.
Hmm.
So lucidity, an effective lucidity in dreams is being engaged in the dream, not
Sure.
rejecting the dream, not abusing the dream,
Yeah.
but trying to navigate in the dream in the context it presents you.
Hmm.
So being more lucid effectively in a dream means starting to talk to the people who appear in your dream and
Mm.
starting to react to the presentations they make in a more intentional way. And in that way, you sort of guide the dream as if you're
Sure.
putting the pieces together at the same time that the dream keeps throwing you pieces.
Mm. Hmm.
So I tend to have dreams, hopefully, of people, characters supporting me in
Mm.
my struggle.
Hmm.
And I work with them, and I had this strange dream last night of getting lost on some airline flight and being unable to connect to my destination. And the flight attendant became my ally and said, well, we're going to make an arrangement here. First, you'll fly to Brazil, and then we'll speak to them, and they'll get on a different plane. And I've written all this stuff, and she hands me this sort of thing that sort of looks like a ticket and says, take it, I'll see you tomorrow. And I relate this to whole my physics, where I'm sort of trying to do that. And I
Yeah.
appreciate this appearance, this evocation of an ally.
Hmm.
This flight attendant in my dreams had more faith in me than I do in my daily practice.
Yeah.
And so so the creativity, if you're really creative, I think you just can lose it. You can just
Mm.
drop your structure of everything.
Hmm.
And of course, that's a great place to come up with new things
Right.
if you can put your feet on the ground. So in my case, I tend to create these avatars,
Mm.
have them keep my feet on the ground and so I just like I can lose it to an extent, It also gives me sort of patience and what would you say, self-faith,
Hmm.
knowing that
Mm-hmm.
there's some personality that is
Mm-hmm.
helping me
Yeah.
in my dreams.
Right.
I mean, I dream all the time. There's this idea you only dream at night. I dream I'm daydreaming all the time,
Yeah.
and it gets pretty serious.
And that, I mean, daydreaming, any version of dreaming, I feel has creative tenets in it of being able to enter that more subconscious space because that is where creativity lies. It's allows our subconscious to uncover and unfold. And as you were speaking, I it made me think of just this idea that creativity comes alive at the edge of our comfort zone. So when we're in some of that tension spaces, whether it's believing in yourself or not, having an ally believe in you more than you do, being able to find that edge and still keep moving forward.
That's important. I believe the edge is important for mental health, but
Hmm.
also going over the edge is a
Mm.
question. I mean, when you're dealing with a person in distress,
Hmm.
it's usually because they feel like they've gone over some edge. They
Right.
need help, they're confused, they're not sure what to do.
Yeah.
That's a fertile place to be, but it can be dangerous depending on how balanced you are.
Hmm.
And one of the definitions I have of mentally ill is somebody who can't keep to the boundary, who keeps
Mm.
falling off the boundary and is in
Hmm.
constant confusion.
Yeah.
So you don't want to go there, but you do want to keep touching it.
Hmm.
And there is something about if you're too organized, the world makes sense. You know, your lawn is mowed, your mortgage paid, your job is attended, your family is, well, whatever you think, probably ignored. But that's not particularly sane, although it's considered normal and acceptable.
Hmm.
And the other side is losing all those things, which is also not considered insane and generally isn't acceptable. Uh, I mean, like, look, the two things I look at are sort of the sort of creative media, movies and theaters and
Hmm.
novels, and how they present sanity, creativity, and growth,
Yeah.
and mythology or, cultural mythology and
Hmm.
those themes. And, most people don't look at mythology these days in our culture, but typically that's been very important.
Right.
And I think that's one of the measures of the lack of our culture is our
Mm.
lack of mythology.
Hmm.
We seem to make do with movies and stuff, but and you see these are very mythological themes in Star Wars and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and it's fun to see them come up over and over again in different forms. Like there's oh two series that are airing now. One's called The Night Manager, and the other's called Young Sherlock. One's for kids, and the other's for you know
Hmm.
spy enthusiasts. And both of them, as I watched them, were on the theme of the evil father. I mean, it
Mm.
took them 9 hours to get there, but
Right.
that's an old theme. I'm like very old. That's one of the oldest themes, right?
Yeah.
The Titans who ate their children. But
Hmm.
and these things come around, and if you don't think about it in your life, you'll see it in the social memes and social myths,
Sure.
and it should make you think about your own life.
Mm.
And it's
Hmm.
kind of an invitation in a kind of demonic way of the underworld. Go into
Yeah.
your trauma. So, do you? That's all I say. I've gotten a new respect for therapy as not just a way to help people who are dysfunctional, but a way to help people be more functional.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not really trying to make people normal and happy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get them to a next plateau of purpose and value.
Mm.
And so I sometimes deal with people who dismiss me or call me a fraud or,
Hmm.
get angry at me. And it's one of the things that a therapist has to do is not take it too personally. You
Right.
you do what you think is right, and you watch what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of impossible to be a judge as to the ultimate value of your work
Mm-hmm.
because you're not there to reach that conclusion. You're there to help somebody else do their work.
Right. Yeah. As you were speaking of mythological or themes and history, and it made me think of the hero's journey and how that shows up in not only in therapy, but also in, you know, pop culture and
Yeah,
movies and music and all of that.
all over. Right.
And how it feels like there's some aspect of us that connects to that mythological or that theme, but no one's necessarily overtly talking about it. And so it is something that people are trying to suss out or tease apart while watching a movie and recognizing it's calling to some part of themselves.
I do think there's a kind of human, what is it that made humans so different than other animals? Even chimps aren't
Hmm.
very similar to us. I mean,
Hmm.
they find similarities as time goes on. They fight wars, they have families,
Yeah.
they have clans, but nobody's been as curious and devoted to change as humans.
Hmm.
And not always in a good way. I
Right.
mean, doesn't always work out well for everybody.
Hmm.
And there's something like I live in a society of dogs and cats. I live in Canada on the West Coast. Everybody has a dog. It's like Philip Pullman's, Golden Compass stories. They're all got these daemons that they're on a leash with. And the people never look at you or say hello, but the dogs always do. I'm always interested in the dogs. And when they're cats, I don't see them much, but I have one. And so dogs, they're curious, but they're never very attached. They have no attention span, and unless they're like huskies or something.
Hmm.
And the cats are always curious, but they don't seem to know what to do with what they find. They just sit there and watch things.
Hmm.
But people, for some reason, have combined these two. We're kind of like dogs and cats combined.
Sure.
We can be enthusiastic and curious, and of course, we're a little more than that. But I think creativity fits in there. It's not enough to be creative. You have to be stable. Otherwise, you turn into Vincent van Gogh and cut your ear off,
Right.
or any other artist who's famous for having gone over the, edge
And
and
not
produced
come
great
back
art,
from. Yeah.
which is the sad thing. You'd like to be able to produce great creative works without going nuts,
Hmm.
but there's always the chance that you will. I know a lot of scientists go nuts too and kill themselves. There's a long story of,
Yeah.
you know, un unbalanced scientists. And like I say, science is not very emotionally supportive anyhow.
Right.
So who do you go to?
Yeah.
I would like to work with more. Maybe this is my call to all listeners. You know, work on yourself, find someone who can help you,
Hmm.
and don't be discouraged because most psychologists are not into growth. They're into balance and recovering stability and making you happy again. And
Mm.
creativity is not about comfort and satisfaction,
Right.
at least not in the traditional sense.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
there's.
you have to go. I mean, these are my three foundations for therapy are honesty, commitment, and courage.
Hmm.
And that's like where you start on the fool's journey. You put those things in your backpack and you
Yeah.
head off.
Yeah. Well, Lincoln, this has been a fascinating conversation and went to places that I wasn't expecting, but I'm thrilled for. So I have one last question.
Oh, just one, do you?
Just one, one last question for you. What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
It feels a bit feverish.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like on the border of getting sick.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe that's sort of the negative aspect. For some people, it could be exuberant. I could
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that.
Sure.
But it's I, the nature of the stuff I do requires me to be very motivated because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it's frustrating.
Right.
I mean, it's like I imagine being a filmmaker would be difficult for me. So much technical requirements,
Mm-hmm.
so little opportunity to put in chaos
Mm-hmm.
because you lose your audience. There's too much information.
Right.
It would be difficult. So I'm always trying to get structure because I mean, this is why, if people are looking at this on video, I make it intentionally to show the chaos of my office in the background because I want people to show me their chaos. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to put a, you know, cultured and fake background around me because I don't want to present myself in that
Mm-hmm.
way. And I don't want other people either.
Yeah.
Of course, that limits the kind of people I can talk to.
Sure.
Yeah, if I feel too happy, I just pick up some research and get confused again.
It's good to know how to find that middle space, that middle ground for yourself.
But you've got to be, it's because I'm such a grounded person that I do that. That's my
Yeah.
inclination.
Mm-hmm.
But if you work with ungrounded people, then they're always looking for
Yeah.
stability and comfort. And, okay, to a point.
Which are valid.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need that so that we can find the chaos or the turmoil or whatever the other pieces are.
Going into the dark, well, it's mythic, right?
It is.
If you look at all these
Absolutely.
stories,
Yeah.
they get dark before they get light.
Yeah.
And so in terms of what people do, I think it's important to fortify yourself to go into the dark.
Mm.
There's so much dark,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not being well handled globally, and
Yes.
it starts locally.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you for joining me for this conversation today. I
Yeah,
really
your one last
appreciate
question.
it.
Yes, okay.
No, I asked it. If people
Sure.
want to learn more about your work that you have out in the world, how could they go about doing that?
I have this big website that's endless at Mind, Strength, Balance. I've
Okay,
got, books on there, and I've got blogs, and the three things I do are brain training and emotional training and dream work. So check it out.
great. I'll add a link in show notes so people have easy access to check it out. And thank you again for joining me for this conversation. I really have thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thanks, Mary. Sure. Great. You too.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.